Welcome to the Typical Sportsman Podcast. I've got the Coues King, Mr. Conrad Sheley on. Conrad is a incredibly successful Coues Deer, Coues Deer hunter, however you want to say it. We do address that in the episode of do we say Coues or do we say cows? And I've met people who will go to war with you either way, but we talk about why we say it the way we say it. And sometimes we say it differently for different reasons. We also talk about the differences hunting out west versus east, and just, I shoot an 8-point, he shoots a 4-point or a 4x4, however. But if he shoots an 8-point, us whitetail hunters would call it, he would say, I shot a 3-point with brow tines. It's all interesting. We talk about all that. We talk about Conrad's history into becoming the bow hunter that he is. Conrad is a passionate member of Pope and Young, and we talk about kind of the journey of learning the history of bow hunting and the history of archery that brought him to where he's at. And I just encourage the listener to study and learn the history of where we came from and where we're at as a lifestyle of bow hunting. I find it annoying sometimes that athletes in all other sports, they want to know the history. Like, they can talk about historic athletes in their sport from way back when. Athletes that they've never seen play, that weren't alive in their lifetime, but they've learned about those guys. And then when it comes to archery hunting, we talk about historic hunters. A lot of people don't even know who they are. And I find that interesting. I find that annoying. But I also equate that I equate the reason that more people aren't involved with conservation organizations to that very reason, that they haven't learned about the history of where we came from. They haven't learned the importance of what it means to stand and protect our rights as bow hunters. We talk about it all. We talk about Conrad's tactics in killing big Coues deer. We talk about his tactics in chasing javelina. We also talk about the ever challenging question of why are some areas more populated with color flays black bears and some are more populated with straight up black bears. It's a really good episode. Conrad is a great guy, and he is, by my standard, the Coues King. So let's jump in with Coues King Conrad and talk about hunting out west. This episode is brought to you by my good friends over at 2O. 2O is making phenomenal Western hunting gear. They're making phenomenal pieces that I can utilize in many, many different ways. I have pushed it in every way that I can, through the mountains, in the heat, in the cold, in the rain. I have busted through some crazy stuff in the 2O gear, and it holds up and performs every single time. It doesn't help that the pattern is incredibly sexy and the merino is world class. Guys, I would highly encourage you to go check out 2O, because you can get phenomenal Western hunting gear without having to take out a loan for it. Guys, go check out 2O gear. I promise you'll be impressed.
For the true sportsman, it's more than a pastime. It's a way of life. Embrace the lifestyle of hunting, fishing, and the thrill of the wild. Live the life. Be typical.
If you're a hunter, you need to pay attention. And of course you're a hunter because you're listening to the Typical Sportsman Podcast. One of my favorite products of all time, Ancient. They make moccasins, quiet moccasins for stalking, or stalkisins, if you will. These things are absolutely dead quiet. I put them to the test just by sneaking through the house to see if I could sneak up on my wife. And they worked. Shot bears with them, chased elk with them. I've shot deer with them. These things hold up. Why? Because they're 100% American made with real leather. Phenomenal products. They are making old school cool again. Guys, listen, if you like to stock up on animals, any kind of stalking, turkey hunting, bear hunting, deer hunting, elk hunting. If you want to get close to animals, you have to walk quietly. I would highly, highly encourage you to go check out Ancient. That's ANXYNT. These are the coolest shoes you'll ever wear. I even rock them. I rock them as everyday drivers. Just headed to Walmart because they look stinking dope. Guys, go check them out. Use code Typical Sportsman. It's going to save you 10%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but here's what I'm going to tell you. You're not going to find a discount on these anywhere else. Go check out Ancient. Get you a pair of the baddest shoes you've ever owned and walk quieter and get closer. Conrad, my all-time favorite podcast enthusiast. What's up, bro?
Yeah, I'm listening to most of them. Just chilling, I'm right at the end of bear season, so I got all my deer taken care of for the year and closing out. I don't have anything else to do except for chase bears for the rest of the year.
Nothing else to do. You do know there's this species called a whitetail, right?
I got to travel for that. I haven't killed a whitetail this year. We hunt Coues Deer, so we got these little tiny whitetails running around down here. I'm in southern Arizona.
Yeah, that's it. It's, you get the question of like, if you could only hunt one species the rest of your life. And I always say it would have to, like, whitetail's not my favorite thing to hunt, but being that it's such a long season, like, and within, an hour drive, I can hunt several different states for whitetails and hunt them all the way through January. So it's like, I would have to choose that, man. Like, just being that you can hunt from October to January, and within a few hours of driving, I can kill, $10. Like, it would have to be whitetails.
I've never been out in a place where you can hunt more than one deer per calendar year.
Yeah.
From Colorado west, it's one per calendar year. The season here is extended for archery season. You have the month of January in a lot of units in Arizona. That's any antlered deer, as long as the quota's open. You got 3 weeks in August, September, and then the last 15 days of December, all on the same tag.
Okay. Now, being a Arizona guy, you have to say Coues Deer. But being a Pope and Young guy, I gotta say cows. How do you fall in the battle of that?
Well,
in the war of that.
So it goes into how you talk about points. If you're back east, it's an 8-point. I would call this a 3-point out here. Or from Colorado, it's a 3-point. It's a 3-point with brow tines.
No, you're giving it half of the. You're saying it's half of what it actually is. Like.
Well, it's less than half because it's got 8 points measurable.
Right.
And I call
you
it
guys
a 3-point
don't even say brows. Yeah. I can buy into that. And I actually enjoy, not when it comes to whitetails, but I enjoy 5x5, 5x6, 6x7. Like, I enjoy that. But even whitetail guys, like, if you kill a 5x6, they're going to say, I killed an 11-point. Like, they're not going to say 5x6.
I have a 14-point Coues Deer. It's 8x6.
So when you're back west, you just need to say that, and then people will be like, "Holy crap, dude! Are you serious?"
It's just who you're talking to. I've spent 20 years plus dealing with the military, moving from base to base, and hunting in different areas. So I talk to people all the time that have different counts, but we're all here at Fort Huachuca right now. So it depends on who I'm talking to. And if I know where they're from, I know how or what to call my deer, whether it's a 3-point with brow tines or it's a 14-point. So, and that goes in cows, coos. It's all the same. You just got to know who you're talking to and what they prefer, and go with how they speak.
I actually go the opposite of what they prefer. That way I can just argue with them,
Yeah. That's a method. Being confrontational.
That's the fun way.
Yeah.
No, I do. I know what you're saying though, because like if I'm talking to and I don't mean this like in a negative way, but if I'm talking like common folks about Coues Deer, I say Coues Deer. But if I'm talking to, your uppity Pope and Young, like measures, know the history of the species and where they come from, and then I say Coues Deer. Not because I'm trying to, but again, like if you say cows, then people are like, what are you talking about? Like, you mean Coues? And then yeah. So you just skip that stupid little exchange of like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, and just call it what they know it as,
Right.
But do you know, I introduced you as my favorite podcast enthusiast. Do you know why you're my favorite podcast enthusiast?
Because you guys rescued me. Or I don't know if it's the exact reason, but a couple different
there's
times
several.
I've mentioned the podcast.
Yeah, there's several. So for those of you that don't know, many of you know I hosted the Bear Archery podcast for years. That's where, most of you were listening during those days as well. But we also did the Pope and Young podcast for a few years. And so at the same time we were running Bear Archery podcast, we had the Pope and Young podcast. So we were doing two different podcasts, and I was co-host of the Pope and Young podcast as well. And two different instances, one of which, was it a measuring course in Ogden? Is that where this was?
I think it was either that or the second convention I went to. I forget which one. I was listening to the Pope and Young podcast, and I was about 5 minutes from home. I got in my truck. I turned it on because, I got a 14, 15-hour drive, whether it was going to Utah or going to Reno. And you guys started talking about what type of stuff you wear on your feet at camp, and wearing Crocs. And I was like, wait a minute, I only brought one pair of shoes. So I had to turn around and go home. And
that was Ogden. I remember now. But because the convention one, so we always do a convention special. This year was, if you come to me and say, keep the dusty side up, which is now the outro for every episode. If you're new here and you don't know what that means, nobody does. So you're welcome. It can mean good luck. It can mean have a great day. It can mean go fall off a bridge. I mean, it can mean anything you want it to mean. But a few years ago, we had said, if you just mention that you're a listener of the podcast, then we have a special gift for you. And during our nightly banquet, like this is the banquet, this is it. This is, everybody sitting down in their suits and ties. And Conrad has the brilliant idea of, well, I'm going to tell everyone that I'm a listener of the Pope and Young podcast. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm going to bum rush the stage, dude. And I'm like,
you and Jason were talking on the Pope and Young podcast, and you said if anybody goes up on stage, and Jason said, I think, anybody goes up on stage and promotes the podcast or says something about the podcast, I'll give you 100 Pope and Young bucks.
Yeah, that's right.
So I did get paid for that, but I was the only one that went up there and did that.
That's right. So he rushes the stage. He says, Jason, I got something I need to say. And he proceeds to share his love for the Pope and Young podcast and their incredible hosts. And in that moment, I'm just like, it was like a stepbrother scene. Like, did we just become best friends? Yep. You want to go do karate in the garage? Yep. But it got even better. So on the Pope and Young podcast, we used to talk a lot about our favorite tree stand snacks, which is a segment I need to bring back. I need to talk about that more because I was on the verge of an Uncrustable sponsorship. And I still believe Uncrustables are the number one tree stand snack in North America. If you don't know what an Uncrustable is, have some kids, then you'll know what an Uncrustable is. You can go to Walmart in the freezer section, get you some Uncrustables. It is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with the crust cut off, already frozen in a nice little package. It's perfect because you throw them in your pack. By the time you're ready to eat them, they've thawed out and you have a delicious peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Pro tip, take them out of the wrinkly, crinkly package they come in, put them in a Ziploc bag, a lot quieter. But you can eat them right in the morning and you get like a frozen, delicious peanut butter and jelly like snack, or you can wait and they're thawed out and you can eat peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or 6 or 7 of them, which is what I do. But Conrad comes up one night and gave me a box of Uncrustables and just like, hey, I know you're an Uncrustable guy. And that was when I was like, dude, you've done more for me in my life than anyone else. Like you're my guy. Like you are him. So up until the point where somebody contacts me, a few episodes ago, I made a plea for a place to hunt in Oklahoma. I lost my farm in Oklahoma. So unless somebody reaches out and says, hey, Dylan, come hunt whitetails with me in Oklahoma, Conrad's number one fan. I did just lose my camera. I said it was a possibility. So if you are watching on YouTube, Carbon TV, Wild TV, I am sorry. My camera cut out. But that's okay. Most of you don't want to see my face for radio. Anyways. So yeah, Conrad, that's when you took number one spot, dude. Like, this podcast needs to be presented by Conrad. Is what it needs to be.
Yeah, I had to DoorDash those Uncrustables. I flew up there and didn't have a car, and there was no store near the convention. So I got them DoorDash to the hotel and delivered them to you guys because it's your favorite snack.
That means the world to me. Now, in all serious, like, dude, if you've ever been to a Pope and Young convention, you know, like, not just myself, but our entire staff, we run a very lean staff at Pope and Young. And so to put on a convention for 2,000 people between, 6 of us, 7 of us, it's a pretty stressful week. It's a pretty long week, late nights, early mornings. And so that really was like a boost, like, of just, dude, this is my favorite thing on earth. I think I ate the entire box that night. I think you even asked me, like, did you share it? I'm like, no, not even a chance.
It's like, do you have any left? And you're like, nope, they're gone. Nope,
they're gone. But really, like, it was at the perfect time. I was just tired, stressed, like, ready to go to bed, didn't want to go get food. So I'm like, no, I don't have to go get food. And it's just like, it's times like that. And I don't mean to get, obviously the emails that you get and the texts you get of like, hey man, I wasn't a hunter, started listening to your podcast, bought my first bow. Like, those obviously mean the world. But when people come up to you and just like remember the things you've talked about and remember, what you like and who you are, and it means a lot. I mean, it makes you feel like, man, what I'm doing is worth it. And, I had one of those moments a few weeks ago, had a guy come into church, and I didn't know this guy. And, as the pastor, I went up, shook his hand. What's your name, man? How'd you hear about us? Glad you're here. And he said, well, I've actually been a fan of yours for a long time, and heard that you started a podcast, or heard you started a church in Derby. So I wanted to come. And I'm like, dude, that's like unbelievable. So it's times like that when you're like, man, this is fun. This is worth it.
Yeah. Well, I've been trying to get involved in Pope and Young however I can. Now I'm a regular member, and no, I'm a senior. No, what? General, regular, and senior. So I'm a regular member now, and measurer.
Where did the history come from? Like, how'd that start? So
back when I was in my teens, in high school, I was running around with hand-me-down stuff. I had an old Darton SL50 that my cousin won at a shoot in like 1978. And I was hunting with that bow when I was 14, 15 years old. And that same cousin that my dad bought the bow from and gave to me for Christmas, which I ended up killing my first deer with a doe. He had a Pope and Young buck on the wall, and that's where I first learned of it. It's like a 148-inch mule deer in Colorado, typical. And I was like, what is that? And then I started really getting into some more bow hunting and buying my own equipment, and found out who Chuck Adams was, and found out how many world records. That's when he was doing the run for, I think, the first time he did the North American Grand Slam. And I was like, who's this guy? And how are they recognized as world records? What's this program? And that's where I started looking into it. So at first it was just a records program. I was interested. I was like looking at the Colorado typical world record that was very long-standing. Bill Brackus, if I'm saying his name right, had a 203-inch mule deer that he killed. That's now number 3 or 4. I'm not sure where he fell down to, but for the longest time, he was the world record from Colorado. And I was like, I'm gonna beat that world record. So I had a focus on mule deer, and to this day, I still don't have a mule deer that makes it into Pope and Young. But that's where it started. My cousin had one. I got into it. I started learning about Chuck Adams, and then it went forward from there. I killed a deer. I was trying to hang him up back here, but he won't fit. He's too tall with the ceiling there.
Oh, Mr. Braggadocious.
Well, it's just the mount and weight. This is a semi-sneak. He's in a full upright, so he doesn't
I just
fit.
don't have that problem like with anything. It's just like everything will fit, you know?
Well, that's how I ended up in my first convention. So getting deeper into the club, I ended up with Coues Deer that just by happen chance came across the hillside with 9 other bucks. And I was like, oh, that looks like a decent buck. And I shot him, and I shot him again. And then he bedded down in front of me. And then some javelina jumped him out of his bed, and I shot him again. Because I'm of the opinion if you can still get an arrow in him, you know, take him out as quick as possible. So I shot him 3 times, and he runs off, and it starts to rain. So I get on the trail almost immediately. I didn't wait because I didn't want to lose the blood trail. And I pull his head out of the bush, and he's 8x6. And I was like, I thought he was a big 4-point or 8-point, depending on who I'm talking to, right?
Yeah.
And,
you're talking to whitetail guys.
So it was a big, I thought it was just a big 8. And when I get up, he's 8x6. And he's got little points sticking out everywhere in full velvet, right, in an August hunt here. And it was the first day of the season. And I just happened to come across this group of bucks, and they come within 60 yards of me, and I got this buck. So I was like, well, this that wasn't my first Pope and Young buck, but it was the first one that was big enough to get me called to panel. So in the 2021 convention, I got called to panel. That was number 3 at the time, outpaced by a new world record that year. But it was 112 and 7/8, non-typical velvet Coues. And that got me up to Reno. It was supposed to be Virginia, then we had COVID and all that stuff, and ended up Reno. And I think that was your first convention as well.
Yep, sure was.
Then I've been to 2 more conventions since then. Another one in Reno, and then now here in Phoenix. Thanks for coming in my neck of the woods this year.
And then next year, it's in my neck of the woods, baby. Little Rock, Arkansas. Not next year, 27. Yeah, 27. It's in Little Rock, Arkansas, which is going to be totally redneck. Yeah, I'm going to turn my redneck up. Let me tell you something. Usually I keep it at bay, but I have terminology to describe how redneck I'm going. And you know, basically my dusty side's going to be completely up in Little Rock. Like it's going to be
You're going to have the outfits and everything to go along with it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Coveralls with the nipples hanging out, like driving probably a lifted golf cart, you know. I'm not a smoker.
You're going to grow a mullet? You're
like
going to grow your bald mullet?
It'd be a skullet. Yeah.
Skullet?
No, I'm not a smoker, but you just got to have a Virginia Slim hanging out the mouth, you know, like you got to have something. Like you just got to take it to that Indian spirit, you know, something. I mean, but not a nice cigarette, like a white trash cigarette, you know, like Mama used to smoke. No, it's I am stoked for it. I haven't been to the convention center, but I've been told it's like the best layout of a convention center we've had so far. Like the area of town it's in, proximity to the airport, like the convention center itself, like I've been told it's top notch, and I'm excited for it. But taking a step back, like, and if you listen to this podcast, you know, I'm not like a trophy driven guy. Like even though I work for Pope and Young, like I shoot the first 120 that runs by. Like homeboy's not picky. I'm a trigger man. However, when somebody says I got invited to panel, I want you to understand what really truly that means. That means for the biannual recording period for 2 years, the top 5 animals for each species are invited to panel. So that means in 2 years, Conrad killed one of the top 5 in that entire 2 years. That's by archery equipment for Pope and Young. Boone and Crockett has their own panel. And to clear up something, it's funny, I still get questions about it. Like Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett are not competing. When Conrad became a measure for Pope and Young, he also became a measure for Boone and Crockett. we go to their panel, they go to our panel. We work together. Sister companies really isn't the right word, but we do the same thing, serving different purposes is how I explain it to people. But anyways, that means for archery taking Coues Deer, that was the biggest, one of the top 5 biggest in that biannual recording period, which is it's an unbelievable honor to be invited to a panel. So congratulations, Conrad. And I don't mean to toot your horn. Like, I don't mean to brag about you, but me and Justin were having the conversation the other day. Somebody asked us, who's the best hunter you've ever known or ever met, and because we get the unique opportunity to meet some of the best bow hunters on planet Earth. And we kind of narrowed it down to like, that has to be broken up. Like, the best elk hunter is not the best hunter all around. And the best hunter all around may be the best deer hunter, but not the best, mule deer hunter, whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like, so people were asking like, well, who's the best blacktail hunter? Who's the best elk hunter? Who's the best? And honestly, I said Conrad is one of the most successful Coues or Coues deer hunter I've ever seen. Like, I don't know how you do it, man. Like, you just consistently find high quality animals and get them on the ground. And it's impressive. It really is.
So the secret to that is the long season. Arizona is also
but you usually
famous
get it done
for,
early.
Well, that's because the right 120 walks in front of you. If you get a 120 Coues,
yeah, that's a mega giant.
You're going to panel.
Yeah.
So I've always been and I think that's why I don't have a mule deer that makes the book yet. I mean, this guy comes close. But he's got that extra point there on this one side, and that takes him from 158 to 144 and 6/8. So 145 is the minimum. So still, he looked the part, but I'm happy with him. I'm not, kicking myself like, why did I shoot that buck because he doesn't make the book? None of these bucks make the book. For mule deer, these 4 mule deer. Got 2 of my son's Pope and Young Coues deer. But with the Coues deer, I'm not shooting the first thing that walks in front of me, because if I shoot the first thing that walks in front of me in January, I can't hunt in September and apply for the Kaibab or the strip to go after one of those giant mule deer in the north of Arizona. So I get really picky in January. Like this last January, I didn't kill a Coues deer, or I didn't kill any deer. There was one that I was hunting. He just came in to the blind right after dark. I had him at broadside at 23 yards, and I couldn't see him. It was too late to shoot. Or I would have tagged out then and wouldn't have shot the 4-point mule deer I shot in August. Because here it's any antler deer in a lot of units if you get the over-the-counter tag. So I have several points that building to go for one of the 15 tags up in the strip. And if I kill a little deer in January, I don't get an opportunity to even apply for that tag, because I can only get 1 per calendar year in Arizona.
Gotcha.
So we've been picky about hunting Coues deer. One thing that helps us get the bigger bucks is they get stupid in January, because that's the rut. So that's a unique opportunity we get here with our bows, is to hunt the rut for Coues deer. And it's awesome.
Now, is Coues Deer in Arizona, is it a draw for non-residents?
No. So to get a tag, it basically is. I think my cousin came down here this year as a non-resident, got his buck, but he had 18 minutes to buy that tag. A couple years ago, they went to not a draw system, but it went to limiting the over-the-counter tags for non-residents. And what they do is they take the quota of how many residents bought a tag, and I don't know what the percentage is, but they give a percentage of that to the non-residents, and they all go on sale at the same time on the website in November or December. and you've got to log in. This last year, like I said, my cousin logged in when they opened it up, and they were sold out in 18 minutes. And I think there was like over 3,000 tags.
Wow.
So if you want to hunt Coues deer over the counter or archery over the counter, you got to get in that pool at the very beginning.
So it sounds like I need to get in that pool and come hunt with old Conrad.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, my cousin is.
I've been meaning
his
to do
friend got in, and they both harvested decent Coues deer this year.
You know, I used to say that I had no interest in hunting Coues deer, because I'm like, why would I go chase a smaller deer? You know, when I can hunt bigger deer here. Well, what does a mature Coues deer weigh, like on the hoof?
Average of what? So we have a opportunity where I hunt. There's a game station that's checked in, mandatory, and they have a scale. So I know exactly how much each one of these bucks weighed. I don't remember, but the average is about 85 to 95 pounds dressed.
See, that's just ridiculous.
That's the whole animal with no guts.
That's
skin
ludicrous.
on, head on, everything. My daughter shot one, an 8-point, that I thought was a lot bigger. Field judging him. He ended up being about 60 inches. I thought he was in the 90s. But his body size relative to his rack size was tiny. She shot him with a rifle, and she packed him out whole, like guts and all, put him on the backpack, and she packed him out. She's 5'2", maybe a buck 35 herself, and packed this deer out whole. We got to the weigh station, put him up on the scale on the backpack, and the backpack weighs 6 pounds itself. It was 68 pounds whole with the backpack.
See, that's just crazy to me, man. Like that's a fawn here. Like, I mean, that still has spots.
Yeah, I got
almost.
One
that still got
that you can't see here. He's just off camera. He weighed 111 pounds dress, 127 pounds live weight. Because I like to keep them clean and gut them and do everything at the waste or the game station. So I weighed him whole, and then I weighed him after because I want the dress weight. But he was 127 and dressed out at 111, and that's the biggest
dude. So
one I've weighed.
You only get 2 meals off that bad boy.
I get about 35 pounds of pure meat, deboned, everything packaged up. About 30 to 35 pounds off of each Coues deer.
See, my wife shot a doe last year that weighed 200.
Yeah.
That's just.
I've seen that with mule deer or does. My stepdad got one. I tried to pull it up on a pulley 1 for 1. I weighed 215 at the time, and I couldn't get her off the ground.
Yeah. See, and that's what, to make my point, like I've always been like, why would I go chase Coues deer, man, when I can, when there's a lot bigger deer and a lot more readily accessible. But for some reason, dude, like just hearing people talk about hunting Coues deer, the gray ghost, like now it's more of like I just want to go and challenge myself in a different environment, seeing different things, hearing different things, like, and experience what it's like to chase them. Be it, it's not like the most impressive animal, like.
Right. But they are crafty. They call them the great ghost because everything down here is trying to kill them. The plants included. Right. I get them, and you skin them out, and there's mesquite thorns stuck through all of their legs into the muscle.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. And so now I have this kind of like this obsession with wanting to go and chase Coues deer. And they're partnered a lot of times with my favorite species on planet Earth, Javelina. Like that's just the funnest thing on earth to hunt, if you ask me.
I've got to get these ones entered. I've got 3 Javelina sitting right there.
You better, because especially now that we got a giveaway for a Javelina hunt going.
Yeah,
you better.
I'm working on it. I got 2. Actually, my son has 2 Boone and Crockett's sitting right there. they make the minimum for Boone and Crockett, and he killed him with his bow. So
now how old are your kids? Like I want to backtrack here. That question came up when you're talking about your boys killing book animals and your daughter killing. How old are your kids?
So I've got 4 kids, 22, 23, 24, and 25.
Dude, I thought you was only like 31.
No, I'm 46. I
mean, take that as a compliment. I said about your wife too. Both of you guys look very young. I mean, I knew that you had older kids. Like, I was shocked the first time I heard that. I'm not shocked this time because I've already heard that before. But like, I remember the first time you ever said that, I'm like, what? Like,
yeah,
you're old enough to be my dad almost.
I have grandkids. So
that's awesome, dude. Congratulations, man. I hope I look half as good as you when I'm that old.
How old are you now?
32.
Yeah.
You're not old enough to be my dad. Well, technically you are, I guess, but it'd be weird.
That'd be weird.
I want to take a step back though. You mentioned like studying the history of Chuck Adams, and I don't just say this about Chuck. I mean, I'm a Chuck fan, but it blows my mind to how many people don't know who Chuck Adams is. Like you start talking to younger generations and they're like, who? And yeah. I'll admit it. Like if it wasn't for my dad, like if my dad wasn't a Chuck Adams fangirl, then I probably wouldn't know who he is either. But I grew up, with the magazines laying out and the posters on the wall. And like my dad shot a Hoyt because that's what Chuck shot. My dad shot Easton because that's what Chuck shot. Like, so I had heard about him growing up only from my dad. And so I'll admit, like if I didn't have a dad who was a hunter, if I was an adult onset hunter and my family didn't teach that, and I wouldn't know who he is either. Yeah, but it amazes me how many people you talk to and they're just like, who? And I'm like, Chuck Adams, dude, most legendary bow hunter of all time. Like,
well, that's because he never advertises it. It's people advertising for him, and he was his sponsors back in the day. That's how he ended up on magazines and posters and stuff. But yeah, he's on social media, but he's very quiet. So he's a very pretty quiet guy. Doesn't promote himself. He's not in it for the fame. He just likes hunting.
Yeah. Well, and I say that to say this, like, I don't want to say it doesn't make me mad. I find it annoying because in every other sport, it seems like if you become obsessed with that sport, you learn the history about it. Like even kids these days, like they know who Michael Jordan is. Well, Michael hadn't played in their lifetime. Like my 7-year-old son, Michael has never played in his lifetime, but he knows who he is. Like because the kids at school talk about him and still wear his jersey. And, I say that because people, like, once you buy into a sport, you learn the history of it. And I get annoyed with archers who don't want to learn the history of our lifestyle, who don't want to learn where we came from and where we're at. And that's where I think if the younger generation would really take, I'm not saying to dedicate 3 years of your life to do research, but I'm saying take a few days and start Googling, who Ishii was, who Pope and Young is. Like, why did we start? Where did we come from? Who Boone and Crockett is? Where did they start? Where did they come from? Why do they exist? Like, and you start learning the history of our sport, dude, it means so much more to you. Like, I remember when I started unveiling these pieces of history and learning who these people are and learning the history of the equipment and where the evolution of the equipment and how we have it now. And like when you grab that bow off the wall and you go out to shoot, it just means a little bit more to you. Like you feel like you're a part of the history rather than just like, well, I saw Cameron Haynes do it, so it must be cool,
Right.
It means so much more. Yeah. And so I appreciate that, man, that it was a pursuit of like the knowledge of archery that brought you to where you're at. And I'm a firm believer that if anybody would just take a little bit of time to study the history of bow hunting as we know it, then you would see the value in Pope and Young. You would want to support the organizations that are continuing to drive the force to move us forward. But B, like you'll just be more, I think you'll be a better representation of our lifestyle. You'll represent us better. knowing where we came from and how we got here. But it just means more to you as well as an archer. And so I want to encourage everybody to just Google the history of archery seasons in United States of America, because I also think it's easy to forget, like, dude, it was my grandpa's lifetime that we didn't have bow hunting seasons.
Right.
It's not too far removed. Like, we seem to think it's always been here. It'll always be here. It's not too terribly hard to look back and see that my grandfather couldn't bow hunt because there was no established seasons for bow hunting, because they weren't viewed as an ethical means of harvesting big game. And so I want to encourage the listener to just take some time and learn where we came from. I mean, dude, you could walk into Western Hunt Expo and go to all the flat brim yuppie hunters and say Howard Hill, and they'd be like, "What? Who?"
It's the same. Well, Pope and Young's newer, of course, than Boone and Crockett. I worked at the Boone and Crockett booth last year at the Hunt Expo, and I'm amazed how many people are there at the Hunt Expo in Salt Lake City that have never heard of Boone and Crockett.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you guys don't know the history of what you do. Like, you're going to go in here and you're going to spend $2,000 on gear this weekend at these different booths, but you don't know that. It goes back into your talk that you've had a couple times on the podcast. Is it a privilege or is it a right? Right?
Oh,
they think it's a right,
get the listeners
and they
fired
think
up
it's
on
been
that.
here forever. It hasn't, and you have some organizations to thank of it. If you're not a Pope and Young member, or and a Boone and Crockett member, both, then do you really support hunting? No, you just like to go kill stuff and put on some fancy gear every once in a while. I don't think
and that's why I know it's a harsh thing to say, but I've even taken it to the point of saying, if you're not a member of those organizations, not just Pope and Young, I'm not just saying this because I'm an employee. This goes for Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, for Ducks Unlimited, for deer, whitetail, not it's no longer whitetails. Holy crap, QDMA, NDA, National Deer Association. If you're not a member of all of those, the NWTF, Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, and your rights as a hunter gets taken away from you, you don't have the right to complain if you were doing nothing to stop it.
100%.
Why are you getting me fired up on a Monday afternoon like this, Conrad?
Hey, I got to be good at something.
Dude, well, let me tell you something. You did it. So I did interrupt you. You were going on to say something else.
Oh, I forgot where I was going to, because I'm just focused on people not understanding where we're coming from and thinking that it's right. So to take it back a little bit, I grew up, in my teens, knowing that Pope and Young existed, knew what Boone and Crockett was there, but didn't know exactly what it was all about. I just knew that they were a different records program, which I need to stop saying that too. It's not just a records program. Neither one of them. Well, Boone and Crockett did not start out as a records program. They started in the 1800s, and they didn't start measuring stuff until the 1930s, 1940s, and then established their current measuring system until the 1950s, I believe. You might want to Google that. But it didn't start out as a records program. It started out as conservation of North American wildlife, so we could still have this opportunity to hunt. And if you don't support the organizations that gave you that right, that privilege to hunt, then you can't complain if it gets taken away, because they're constantly trying to take it away. They took the bear hunt in Florida away, and finally they got some common sense in there, and somebody just ran the numbers. The Howl for Wildlife just ran the numbers, and just on these limited number of bear tags and the number of people that applied, they made $3.5 million towards conservation for wildlife in Florida alone.
Wow.
Just because they reenacted this bear hunt in a limited quota.
Wow. That's incredible. And to your point, you said you need to stop saying that they're a records program. I had said for a while now that my job at Pope and Young is to rewrite the narrative that we are more than a records program. And we are more than a records program. However, when Jason Matzinger was on the show and was talking about his film Selective, he said something that really stuck with me. And that's that the North American model, the Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett model of measuring and scoring and entering and keeping a record and a database of species taken, the record books as we know it, is the most complete and beautiful piece of conservation that we have. And I was like, wow, like that's true, man. And so I've been saying for so long that I want to rewrite the narrative that we're more than a records program. But, now I just want to take pride in that we are a records program.
Yes.
However, the record program serves such a bigger purpose. It ain't about you. It ain't about measuring, who's the best hunter. It ain't about celebrating Chuck Adams as he comes up on stage for the 8th time in a night. That's not what it's about. It's never been about that. It's never been about the hunter. It's always been about the conservation of wildlife. And that's what it's going to continue to be about.
That and promoting Pope and Young, promoting bow hunting. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Russia and Belgium and Australia have all used Pope and Young data from the record book to justify archery seasons in their countries.
I know Russia, because that was like, maybe it wasn't during my time, but it was like right when I was coming on board, right before I was coming on board. So I know Russia. But man, like I've got to hear stories of guys still alive. Like I'm not talking reading a story from, 1923. I'm talking about dudes, an outfitter that I hunted with. Like he was still able to guide, like he wasn't anyways. And he was talking about how, like, man, I remember Kansas, like when it was a nothing state and you did not see whitetails. Like if you saw a deer when you're driving down the road, it was like, that made your year. Well, you never saw them. And he talks about how he remembers seeing Pope and Young come in and create bow hunting seasons. And he remembers those first seasons. And over the years, how he's seen Kansas, become one of the best whitetail states there is. And like, hearing those stories, it's like, man, this is why we do what we do. Like, it's not about, who's the best and who's better than the rest. And so for those of you listening and you're like, well, that's great. You did that in the past. Now what is the record book? Now who cares? Like we already have our bow hunting season. Well, I live in a $1 state. If Kansas next year decides, well, let's let residents shoot $2, they're going to have some sort of data to look back on and say, okay, has the quality of deer that are coming out of the state of Kansas going up or going down? Was this good for the overall deer population or was it bad for the overall deer population? We used to have X amount of, entries coming in a month from this said county. And now that's down 28%. Like, so what are we missing here? We're killing more deer, but less deer are being entered and less deer, of a lower class are being killed. Well, we're killing too many deer. We need to take a step back. Like, and that happens all the time. Florida's a perfect example. They're going to have data to look back on as these seasons are reinstituted, as tag allocations continue to go up. They're going to have something to look back on and say, okay, what are the quality of bears that are being killed? Are we killing big sows? Are we shooting, 3.5, 2.5-year-old small bears? Like, where is this going? And that's when they call them Pope and Young and say, we need data. We need data points to verify this. So continue to put your animals in, continue to drive that forward. And not only that, like you're cementing, I say it's not about the hunter, but those 2 young men that just died in Colorado, I did check. They did not have any animals in the book. However, if they did, I had fully intended on pulling books off the shelf and sending them to their families, circling them, highlighting them, signing them. Because listen, if I put an animal on my wall, I get to enjoy that. I get to celebrate that. But I'm the only one that gets to celebrate that. I'm the only one that gets to enjoy that. I'm the only one that gets to look at that. However, when you put your name in there amongst the rest of the hunting community, that's celebrated for the rest of history, and it can never be taken away. It can never be lost in a house fire. It can never be destroyed or stolen. It's always there, and it can always be celebrated. And my kids and my grandkids can always look back on that and say, man, I remember going to recover that deer with my dad. I remember going out with my dad on that deer. And here it is in the books right here. Like that, it's something that it's an important piece of the conservation story. And I would highly encourage you guys, me and Jason. So if you haven't watched the film Selective, I would highly encourage you to go watch it first and foremost. It's a beautifully produced film. But on the episode with Jason, we take a deep dive into this, and it's one of my favorite episodes of all time. So jump back and listen to that and the purpose that these books serve and kind of Jason's journey into realizing what these books actually do.
Yeah. And it can help you set some goals too, because I'm looking for the North American 29, but I don't have the money in my pocket right now to go do that. And hopefully the cards play out and I get enough to get on a sheep hunt before my legs can't take me up the mountain.
Yeah, man, I heard it put this way. Look at the price of a new pickup, and that's the price of a sheep hunt. Like top of the line, brand new pickup off the lot. That's the price of a sheep hunt. You know,
I know we were right next to the Stone Sheep Guide. $95,000 for a guided stone sheep hunt, and that's not a guaranteed kill. So
I will say, if I could kill any sheep, it would be a stone sheep. They are gorgeous animals.
My buddy took 25 years to draw a desert bighorn sheep, and then didn't take his bow out there. And I'm like, Bob, why didn't you go out there with your bow? And he's like, it took 25 years to get this tag, and it's an any weapon tag. So he took his rifle out there.
And then he shot him at like 14 yards.
No, he could have. The herd was there. I think he could have gotten to a position where he could have stalked in based on the video that they took. But he wasn't leaving it up to chance. And he's like, I'm going to fill this tag. And he got a nice ram. I think I measured him out at 177, 178.
Where's that at? Where was he at?
He was southeast Arizona. I don't know. I don't remember the exact unit, but southeast Arizona, over by Clifton, Morenci, Safford, somewhere over there.
There are a lot of great companies making a lot of great bows. Pretty much if you go buy a new bow today, it's going to be a good shooting bow. However, very few bow companies are still single family owned. Even fewer bow companies are Christian owned, which is a very important value to me. And third, very few companies are really looking to push the needle in innovation. That is why I align myself with Prime. Prime, when I made the switch to Prime and I got my hands on this RVX 32 right here, I spent so much time with that bow. I put so many arrows through it. I took it on several different hunts in several different climates and put it just through about anything you can put a bow through. And it performed in every way that I needed it to. It shoots really well. It balances really well. Super high quality. The materials that go into it are great. And then in 2025 comes the form, which just goes to show you that Prime is really looking to move the needle in archery innovation, which is something that's important to me. So guys, that is why I align myself with Prime. I would highly encourage you to go to a Prime dealer and shoot the bows. I would highly encourage you to go to g5prime.com and check out their full lineup. Prime makes a phenomenal bow, but it's also a company that I can feel good about standing behind and supporting. So go check out Prime for your next bow. Very cool. So what is next for Conrad? Like, not just this season, you've kind of covered what you got left, but like what's on the horizon? What do you want to go chase? What's in the cards? What's in the plans?
I've got points cooking in several different states. I've made the mistake of drawing 5 or 6 tags in one year, 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there. I had Colorado, Utah, California. And I only made it out on, we'll say, 3 of the 5 hunts. So I didn't even get to hunt some of the tags that I had. So I've changed it to, I do 1 out-of-state hunt a year. I've been trying to draw an elk tag in Colorado in premium units. I'm up to 20 non-resident points. I'm this close to moving back to Colorado for a year just so I can hunt as a resident and draw my tag. But I think my next guaranteed non-resident tag would probably be California mule deer again. I am saving some money up. I'm trying to get to do muskox in Greenland.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be real cool.
Yeah. Muskox
is another one of those that I've never had an interest for. And then you like watch some hunts and you're like, yeah, I want to do that.
Well, I want to go for all of them. What are you hunting next? Whatever comes available. I'm not picky. I do the normal ones. Javelina, I got to put in for the draw. Hopefully I draw a Gould's turkey tag. My wife took 16 years to draw her Gould's turkey tag, and she harvested a nice tom this year. So
wait, did you just say you have to draw for Javelina? Is Javelina a drawing for a resident?
It is.
Wow. Just go to Texas.
In Arizona, it's a draw, but you can get 2 different Javelina tags per year, but they can't be the same hunt number. And there's a lot of leftovers. So in some units, there's up to 200 or 300 leftover tags in some units. Where I hunt, there's only 16 tags available, but I have been successful just about every year drawing a tag.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it pretty? It's it's easy to get drawn.
It's fairly easy. And if I've got the ham tags, so they've got the archery tags. They have ham tags, which is handgun, muzzleloader, archery, and then the general rifle tags. And if I really needed a Javelina tag, I could go get one, and it doesn't matter with the season. I can hunt it with the bow. You can always hunt up, but you can't hunt down. Or what is it? What would that be? So if it's a general season tag, you can use a rifle on down to muzzleloader archery. If you have a muzzleloader tag in Arizona, I know it's different in Colorado. In Arizona, you can use a bow during the muzzleloader season. My friend had that question because he couldn't take a muzzleloader into a restricted area where he was hunting, and it was archery only, but he had a muzzleloader tag, and he could use that bow in the restricted area. In Colorado, every state's different. You got a muzzleloader tag, you're going to hunt with a muzzleloader only.
Gotcha.
So, just like I think Oregon's going to a primitive archery season where you can only use recurves and longbows, no compounds. I don't know.
How many Javelina do you have right now that you think will make a book?
I have probably 4 myself. My son has 2. My wife has at least 1. I got 3 out of the 4 kids hunting. So even though it's 35 pounds of meat, our freezer was always full because everybody was getting one. You have 5 people in the house getting 35 pounds of meat, that adds up pretty quick. And that's just the Coues Deer. So, we have a Javelina every year, and then every once in a while we'll get an elk.
So is Javelina, not Javelina. Is Coues Deer your favorite thing to hunt?
No. But it's the easiest thing to hunt down here because of my proximity to them. I like elk.
That's your number one, huh?
Yeah. Well, growing up fishing, I'm not put a worm on the hook and send it out there and wait for hours for something to come by and tug on your line. I didn't learn how to sit in a blind until 2020 when I killed my first bear out of a blind. I hate sitting and waiting. I love spot and stock. And then you turn elk hunting where you can call them in and running and gunning. That's the way I like to do it.
Yeah, I've got buddies, man. You'll be sitting in a blind and they get bored and they're like, let's go. I'm like, go where? Like, we're in Kansas, dude. There's no trees to hide behind. There's no no terrain features. Like, what do you mean go? Like, let's just walk through the woods, see if we can find one. I'm like, it's not gonna work. Sit down and shut up. Like,
yeah. And that's the way a lot of people hunt Coues deer is sit in a blind. And I've been mind-numbingly bored for the past 2 weeks since the deer season ended, sitting in a blind waiting for a bear to come to water. But that's the way a lot of people hunt Coues deer. I have a different method. I have 2 different strategies that help me be a little bit more successful with Coues. I hunt in areas that are heavily populated with hikers because I am the opinion that they become familiar with people walking around and hiking through their area so they don't get as spooked. If you go deep down into the backcountry, into these holes where these giant bucks live during the archery season or during the August season, everything, like I said, is trying to kill them. They won't be there. They hear a twig break from 200 yards, they're gone. But if you hunt in an area with a hiking trail going through it, you get on that hiking trail and you take your bow for a walk, chances are the does are going to be there, and during the rut, the bucks will be there too. And those old bucks like this will come out of their hidey holes and be hanging out with those does. So hunted those areas that are frequented by foot traffic. Take your bow for a walk in there, spot and stock once you get in there and see some does during the rut. That's one method. The other one is all year long, I'm looking at where the does are, what they're doing, what their pattern is. Because even when the rut hits, the does will never change their pattern, typically. Depends on weather. But for the most of the year, they're in the same areas at the same times all year long. So you just wait for that January rut to hit, and the bucks will just come in, show themselves, and you take advantage of that opportunity. That's how
now
most of these die.
This might be a stupid question, but I'm not familiar with it. Do you have a lot of color phase bears in Arizona?
Tons. I haven't killed a black bear here. My friend sent me a picture on last Monday, of one, and as soon as we get done with this, I'm going to go get into that area and do some calling, see if I can get him. But I've seen a couple black bears, but I've killed a blonde one, I've killed a red one, and I killed a chocolate one, all here within 5 miles of each other.
So your color that you're after is black. Like that's what you want to go after.
I have one black from Colorado. And one from Alaska. But those were both shot with a rifle. I want a black one with my bow. Yeah.
See, that's cool to me because some guys are like, man, I want to see a cinnamon color. I want to see a blonde color. I want to see and then there's a very select few that are like, dude, I've never killed a black one with my bow. I've never, I've killed every color under the sun except a black one. Like, and you're like, what? Like, yeah. But there's just some areas, man, where black is the minority and you don't see many of them. Like I was telling somebody, me and my wife both shot a black one in Idaho this year. And they were like, oh man, I wish you would have shot a color phase. I'm like, actually, it's kind of more rare that both of us shot a black one than if one of us would have shot a color. Like that was almost surprising to me that we both ended up with a black bear.
Yeah, I know of 3, and one of them, I didn't know what color it was. I just saw his paws, and I was hunting him this year, and a buddy of mine ended up getting him, and it's a giant black bear for this area. But he was jet black through and through. There's another one that I had pictures of that I ran into that's all black, and he has a brown muzzle. And then the one that I got a picture of on Monday, I believe was, I'm gonna double check here. Yeah, he has a little bit of brown on his muzzle, but he's all black.
So being that you listen to this show, you might know my take on it, and what I believe to be true. Why do you think that some areas have such a high color phase rate and some don't?
I just don't think it's that color phase is a recessive gene. I just think it's you got it in there, and there's a chance, all the genetics stuff, that the genes are there. You got the crapshoot of what you're going to get.
See, the best, and like if you Google it, you'll find a bunch of different answers, but the best answer that I've ever found is the amount of sun exposure that bears have. Like some people believe that it's water, like the amount of water that a bear has, but sun like makes the perfect sense to me. And really, when you think about it, like when you think about the areas that have a super high black population and a super high color phase population, it's areas where they're more exposed to sun. It's areas where they are, like if you go to Maine, you're never going to see a color phase. They are all black. Well, they never see the stinking sun because the woods are so stinking thick and everything is so dark. So the fact that they're black means they blend in more. Whereas if you go to, like if a black bear doesn't blend in well in Arizona because it's constantly in rocks, sun, desert area, being beaten on by the sun. So the sun just bleaches those hairs different colors, and they adapt to blend into their environment more. And I'm like, that does make a lot of sense.
I don't think the sun's bleaching these ones. I mean, and I say that with a little hesitation because the last one I killed, based on the teeth wear, I'm guessing over 15 years old. I killed one that was aged by the state at 20 years old. And that was the smallest bear I killed here, 135 pounds dressed. But she was 20 years old.
Wow.
The last bear I killed last year, I'm guessing is over 15 years. I think for the last 5 years, she had a broadhead sitting in her shoulder. I don't know if you saw those pictures on my Instagram.
I did.
But she was walking around with the broadhead in her shoulder, and her back may have been bleached a bit by the sun because she had like a gold or light tan vest, and she had really dark chocolate face and legs. So that one might have been bleached out a bit, but we've got all color phases down here, and the black ones are still black, and the red one that I have on the wall has actually had zero indication that it was faded from black. So I don't think the sun is fading anything. That's just the color they come out as, and that's
no. Let me take a step back. Bleach was the wrong word. I think they adapt,
genetically adapt to being in more sun.
Yes. Yeah. Bleach was the wrong word, but I mean, think about it, dude. Like, and I'm not
right. I didn't see a color phase bear in Alaska.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I don't know, man. I just, you hear all these different like theories as to why some bears are color phase, and sun exposure was the best reasoning that I've heard so far is that they've adapted to live in sunnier spots where there's more sun and, lighter colors and more tans and reds and grays, and that, bears have adapted to live in those areas. And I'm not trying to be racist here, but there's a reason if you live in Africa, you're black. I mean, because you're living in the sun, and they've adapted over time. Like,
well, that would be opposite of your
right
bear theory.
But you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
But I mean, people and animals adapt to live in their environments. And listen, you listen to this show, I'm a Bible believing Christian, and if you know that, then I believe we all came from one man and one woman. That was one color. So over time, people have adapted to live in the areas they live in. I mean, That's where I'm at. And so bears, that's the best analogy I've heard. I mean, maybe
I would be interested to see the
this,
color of the map where the highest density of
Oh.
color-phased bears live.
Oh,
Because you say
I wonder
Maine,
if that's a quick
they're all
Google
black.
search away.
Southern Arizona, we have a ton of color phase from blonde, chocolate, red, to black. My buddy just killed a red one up in Canada. So I know the color phase goes up there. Colorado had a lot of color phase. I've seen 3 bears in California. I've seen 5 bears in California, and only one of them was black, but that was Northern California. So I'd be interested to see the map if somebody could do that.
It's not a quick Google search away.
No, it is.
I know
that's
that.
something somebody's going to have to put some work into.
But what Google says is, black bear percentages are highest west of the Mississippi River, with
I think
areas
that's
like
just going to go
Arizona,
into
parts of the
number of
Rocky
black
Mountains.
bears. There's no
Yeah,
data
that's true
points
too.
collected.
Yeah.
Other than seeing a picture, when I put a bear in Pope and Young, there's no block to check what color phase was it. So that data set isn't there to Google.
Yeah, that's right. We need a detailed map showing specific percentages of black bear color phases by county is not available to the public, but general trends indicate that the further west you go, the higher the percentage of color phase bears. East of the Great Plains, nearly all bears are black, while states bordering the plains, such as Minnesota, may have up to 25% brown and cinnamon. Western states like Idaho and Arizona have high percentages of color phased bears, with some areas having over 50% of color phased bears.
I'd say we're a little bit higher than 50% where I'm at.
That I would say
I've seen
like
4.
And
I've seen 4 bears this year, and one of them it was black.
Interesting. I say all that to say this: if you're a bear nerd and you know the answer, reach out and tell me. I need to know the answer, because Google doesn't. Google gives me a whole bunch of different answers, but again, the amount of sun that they're exposed to still is what I tend to lean towards. I mean, that makes the most sense to me. I don't know why the amount of water they have access to would change that. And again, that's more inconsistent to me. Like, because
I think it's like the genes. Where did the color phase come from? Do we have grizzly bears out east where they're all black? Maybe the grizzly bear gene with the brown coat has worked its way into black bear somewhere along its history, and that's why we see them more out west.
Interesting.
But it hasn't gone the other way. You don't see a lot of black Kodiaks and brown bears and grizzly bears running around. So I don't know.
I don't know, man.
That's just the theory.
That's a mystery, but I'll tell you what, when I stand before the Lord one day, it's going to be a question I ask.
Why don't you make them all different colors? More than one question. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, no kidding. Before we go, so we know Coues deer is what you hunt the most because it's most readily accessible. If you were only given one species to hunt for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Elk.
But then you can only do a couple hunts a year.
Right, but it's big enough. I only need to do one a year.
But then you don't get to hunt as much.
Well, true, but there's lots of factors in it, but they're the funnest one to hunt.
See, that's why, like, if the question is phrased that way, I have to say whitetail. Just because, again, I get to hunt it the most. However, how does your answer change if I say, I'm going to send you on one hunt tomorrow? Tags are no object. Money's no object. Your wife's not going to be mad. Like, you get to go on any hunt you want to go on. What would it be?
A Kodiak brown bear hunt with my bow.
Yep. Same. Coastal. It's got to be coastal.
Yep. Well, it's not coastal. It's a grizzly, right? Depends on where they draw the line on the map. That was an interesting factoid that I found out as a measurer. If you kill a brown bear above this line, it's a grizzly. If you kill it below this line, it's a brown bear.
Yep. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, genetically, they're the exact same bear. Like there is no different other than geographically where they live. Brown bears live closer to the coast, so they get bigger because they're eating fish off the coast. And grizzlies aren't as big because they don't live as close to the coast. But when I say coastal, like, I mean, I want to be hunting them on the coast.
Yeah.
Like that's what I mean.
Well,
like
Steve Ranella, they just did one with wetsuits.
Oh, yeah.
Where they got the little surfboard and they put the bow on the board and they got in the wetsuit and they got in the water and they got up on the shore with the black bear and got out.
That was one of the biggest gangster moves ever.
Yeah.
Like that was just dope. And it's things like that. That's why I'm a Clay Newcomb fangirl. Like that is 100% of the reason why I'm a Clay Newcomb fangirl. Because he does cool stuff.
I want to go, like Bob Fromm went up there and got on this big giant tree stump that was cut. And he's like, we're going to try to call in some black bears. And he blew on a rabbit in distress call for like 2 seconds. And there was 5 different bears that came in. And he was just blind calling. I'm going to set up on this stump right here and call. And 5 different black bears ran to him within 35 yards of him. I think that would be a cool.
Do you ever call?
I've been calling for the last 2 weeks. I got Grizzly Brothers out of California. They make a fawn in distress call called the quota. And I bought that call and I've gone out and granted I've been doing nothing but blind calling. I've called in more does in the past 2 weeks than I've ever called in my life because I don't typically call for deer.
Really?
But these does will come within. I was out all day yesterday. I called in 20 does within 20 yards with that call.
I wonder why.
And not a single bear. So I'm trying to call bears. I just got to see them first and then before they see me and get into an area and then get the wind right. And I think I can call one in. But
so why are so many deer coming in, do you think?
It's a fawn in distress or a fawn calling the mom like, hey, Mom, where are you?
Yeah. I got your stories mixed up when he said rabbit in distress.
Oh, no. So, yeah.
And I thought.
I want to go with the rabbit distress in Alaska. I've been calling here with a fawn in distress call. And
gotcha.
It hasn't been working out.
Yeah, I just got those mixed up. So I thought you said I've got a rabbit in distress and I've had does coming in and I'm like, what?
No.
Maybe I got to try to squall on out with a rabbit in distress and during whitetail season, see what happens.
That's one thing you want to hunt javelina with a call. You get that javelina in distress call. It's awesome. It scares the heck out of my wife because they come in running.
Really?
Yeah. When we're done with this, I'll send you a video of me calling him. Not this year, but last year I called him in to 12 yards and shot a big male.
That's cool.
Territorial
I've never done that.
Pack animals, and if something gets a hold of one of their babies, they're coming in with those tusks to defend, and they come.
I would not want to be on the receiving end of one of those, though.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
But that's a fun way to hunt javelina. You spot them.
I've always hunted them the white trashy way in Texas. Like you just walk up and down the roads and shoot them.
Yeah, they're a little bit harder to hunt here. You can shoot them off of water. You can spot and stock them. They're easy to do spot and stock. But what I do now is I'll spot them. I'll get within 40 or 50 yards of them, and then I'll blow on that call to have them just run in, close the distance. Because that kind of separates the herd. You get the moms with the babies, they'll take their babies and they'll go the other way. And those big males will come back to see what's happening. And I think 3 times that I've called, it's been a big male that I've shot because they come back and stand their ground, and I shot them within 20 yards every time.
That's cool. You learned something new.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've actually oftentimes said, like, javelina is like, if you're just starting bow hunting or just making the switch to a recurve, like that's the best animal that you could start with because they're dumb. Like, they're blind. Yeah. So you can walk up a lot easier than like stalking up on a deer or an elk or you name it. They're blind, they're dumb, and they're usually in a target rich environment. So like, if you mess one up, like, don't worry, you'll get on more, you know? But it sounds like I need to come out there and hunt them the Conrad style.
Yeah. I pulled a triple out of one herd with my dad and my son. So my dad got a non-resident tag. We come down. And so he was the first one up. Me and my son had already taken him in years prior. So he had first crack, and we get to 40 yards on this javelina, and he's like, "Oh, I can shoot it from here." I was like, "There's a whole herd over here, Dad. We can get closer. We can get to 20 yards." He's like, "Nah, I can shoot him from here." So he shoots 40 yards right underneath it. All it does is spin 180 and look the other way. So he puts another arrow on, shoots, misses again. I don't know how he missed twice at 40 yards. My dad's, pretty good. He's won money at Vegas, so he's no slouch in the archery industry. But missed this javelina twice. It runs off. And my wife's about 300 yards away and calls me and says, because we were just talking, picking up his arrows. And my wife calls me. She's like, "I can hear you guys talking. Shut up. There's javelina right above you." We thought the whole herd had blown out. So we collect his arrows and we sneak up the hill. Me and my son do. And there's this javelina feeding behind this agave. And he comes out at 15 yards. And my son shoots him, and he's squealing. There's a 1/4-2 shot. So he shoots him in the neck here. And that javelina bounced by us, squealing and making all sorts of noise, and running down the hill about 60 yards and shuts up. And I look up, and there's 2 javelina at 20 yards. So I pull up, and I shoot one. It runs in a circle and dies right there. So my dad comes up the hill. He's there. My son goes down to look at his. I'm like, we're standing near mine. And all of a sudden, another one runs up over the top of the hill and stands at like 10 yards, and my dad shoots it. So it was just chaos for about 5 minutes, and we shoot 3 javelina. And yeah, they're fun to hunt. They're made for bow hunting.
They are. It's a species made for bow hunting, and that it was the first animal that I shot with a recurve. You'll get a kick out of this. I was down in Texas, and we had set up a whole bunch of our blinds. We get there and scouted and set up a bunch of blinds, and my buddy pulls this brand new blind out of the box, sets this thing up. It's, a nice pop-up blind. And, well, the next morning we were deciding, like, all right, who's going where, and me and my buddy go to me and my buddy, it's not his blind, it's another buddy. We go to his blind and sit in it. And these javelina come in. And this was, the first time I was hunting with a recurve. And so I drew back and shot at this javelina, and you just hear a god-awful noise. And I look up, and the top limb of that recurve had torn through the top of that blind. Like a 2-foot tear in the top of that blind, just cut all the way through it. And I'm like, crap, dude, what do we get to do? It's a brand new blind. He just pulled this out of the box for this hunt.
Yeah.
And so we just found some black duct tape, taped that up. It wasn't until like 2 years later, he texts us all in a group, and he's like, "Man, I just pulled this blind out of the box. It's got a rip in it. I don't even know how this happened."
I haven't used this for 2 years.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Man, that sucks, dude. What did happen? Man, that's crazy, dude. And somebody taped it too. I'm like, what? Like, that's insane, man. That's crazy. You forgot you repaired that already. So I got away with it. But quick commercial break here. I got to pay some bills here, Conrad. We talk a lot about our favorite bows, about our favorite camo, our favorite arrows. And we invest a lot of money into the gear that we use. Listen, that investment does not matter if you're not healthy enough to get out in the woods. That investment of your camo does not matter if you can't make it up the mountain to where the elk are. One of the best investments you can make is investing in your health, investing in the longevity of you as a hunter. Guys, Mountain Tough is truly changing lives of people all around the world. It's changed my life. It's changed lives of people like Mr. Randy Newberg. His testimony about Mountain Tough is absolutely phenomenal. He's even partnered with them to help make a program for people 50 and over because he's so passionate about what it's done for him in his life. Guys, Mountain Tough truly is incredible. And I want to give you a chance to try it for 6 weeks completely free. When you use the code TYPICAL, all caps, typical, you're going to get the original 14 days free, but then you're also going to get an additional 30 days free, 6 weeks of free training. Give it a shot, give it a try, and just see. I promise you in that 6 weeks, you'll feel better. You'll perform better. You'll look better. Everything about your life will improve if you just give it a chance. If you don't like it at the end of that 6 weeks, no harm, no foul. But I want to give you a chance to try it free for 6 weeks. Again, Mountain Tough, use code TYPICAL, all caps, and try it for 6 weeks completely free. All right, if you're watching, I've got video back now. If you're watching on YouTube, MySpace, Twitter, Facebook. If you're watching on MySpace, I don't know what's wrong with you. Check this out, Conrad. Did you see these? Pope and Young is partnered with Coues Archery to bring you the brand new Preserve, Promote, and Protect arrow shaft. Let me tell you something. I'm an arrow junkie. So when Pope and Young decided to build this arrow, I said one thing. We're not building a crappy arrow. We're going to find a good arrow to build. We want this. We're a bow hunting organization. I shoot flesh. I don't shoot foam. So I wanted to build a bad to the bone bow hunting arrow to kill stuff with. So we partnered with Coues Archery, a brand new arrow company out of Texas, because I was incredibly impressed with the arrow shaft that they have built. Now, for those of you that listen, you know, I work with Day 6. So I'm a Day 6 fangirl. However, this arrow I was incredibly impressed with. They sent me some to test out, shot them on my recurve, shot them on my compound, did some torture tests with them. Not torture tests to the extreme of like trying to shoot them through steel plates, because I don't care about that crap. But just spending a lot of time with them, missing, burying them, missing and hitting the fences. Shot a lot of these arrows. I was impressed with them. This is a 3K carbon weave, 5mm arrow. When you order the Pope and Young arrow shaft, it comes standard with the upgraded 2-piece outsert. So I'm shooting a 300 spine. I believe the GPI on this is 8.5. So with that 65 grain outsert and 100 grain fill tip, 125, 150, whatever you're shooting, you get a really, really good FOC arrow. You also get optimal weight. Like I've loved the weights I'm getting with these. So these are now available on the Pope and Young website, pope-young.org. You can order them custom built. Blake, our director, our records coordinator, owns a bow shop. He custom builds these things for you. You get to pick your wrap color. We have the custom Pope and Young boning wraps, the custom Pope and Young alpha veins, which is the best vein known to man, in my opinion, which is why I chose to brand those. You get to pick your wrap color, your vein colors, and your vein configuration. You can do 3 fletch, you can do 4 fletch. He sends you these things completely built. Or if you want to shoot your current arrow setup, you can go ahead and get the wraps and the veins and still have that sexy Pope and Young appeal. So go check these out, pope-young.org. We also dropped a bunch of new apparel, one of which is the highly anticipated from Pope and Young Convention, Redneck Nerd shirt. If you don't know what a redneck nerd is, best way I can describe it to you is somebody who is highly sophisticated in the craft of killing. That's all I'm going to say about that. So go to pope-young.org, check out all the new apparel, check out the new arrow shaft. I promise you, that's a bow hunting arrow that you're going to be pleased with. I have done just about everything I can with it, and I've been happy every time. Super tight tolerances, great arrow build. Conrad.
Yeah.
Man, 30-second elevator pitch. 2027 Pope and Young Convention. What would you say to people in order to get them to mark their calendars right now?
Man, put me on a spot on that one. I'm usually not one for lacking words. Get people to the convention. You want to meet like-minded bow hunters, like-minded people that will, from the beginner to the guy that's been doing it for 80 plus years. Everybody's willing to share stories, and it's a great place for networking. If you want to go on a hunt to Greenland for muskox and you don't know how to get there, you don't know where to take the first step, come to convention. You'll find somebody there that's done it, and they'll be more than happy to share that story with you and get you sent off in the right direction.
Or you'll find outfitters that are just ready to help you book the hunt then and there, and give you an awesome show special and get you set up.
And
also,
you get to see all the big animals that were taken to the biennium and entered and were sent to panel. Over 200 trophies usually, and it's an awesome display.
And not all outfitters are bow hunting friendly. Let me just say that. But every single outfitter is at the Pope and Young Convention because not only do they like taking bow hunters, they specialize in taking bow hunters. So if you're looking to book a hunt and want to do it bow hunting, that's the best place you're going to find to do it.
Yeah.
A lot of times you walk around shows, you see Thule elk, like, man, I've always wanted to kill a Thule with my bow. You walk up and like, we don't do bow hunters, which is frustrating. However, the outfitters at the Pope and Young Convention, they specialize in taking bow hunters. So it is the best place to just get together, a big family reunion of bow hunters, all like-minded, conservation-driven bow hunters. And it's the best place to be, in my opinion. So 27 Little Rock, we've got some big things in store. We say that every year, but this year, we've got some things that I can't even quite share yet because they're, I'm very excited about the 27 convention, and it's in Little Rock. Come on, you're not going to find anywhere better than that.
We're doing the hunting,
Conrad,
the cooking contest there.
Oh yeah, we got the cooking contest, and we might have some very special judges lined up for it, which is exciting. Conrad, man, thank you so much for coming on, dude. It's a pleasure to talk to the Coues King. That's your new official name. It's the Coues King, in my opinion. I'm saving your number in my phone as Coues King. Coues King Conrad. That's it.
Yeah, if the shoe fits, I got to wear it, I guess.
But I'm going to spell King
I'm the
with a
Coues
C.
King, but I'll take it.
I'm going to spell King with a C, so it's CCC. Just that's it. Coues King Conrad. There are very few things that I have with me every time I'm in the outdoors. Whether I am upland hunting, deer hunting, elk hunting, just out shooting my bow, out checking trail cameras, very few things that are always with me. One thing that I always have with me is my binocular harness. And I searched the world for what I felt to be the best binocular harness. In my opinion, there's a fine line in binocular harnesses. Either you get a lot of space for everything you need, but they're big, bulky, and heavy, or they're super streamlined and I just don't have space for everything that I want to have on my chest. Alaska Guide Creations makes phenomenal harnesses. Guys, I wear them all the time. I wear my harness probably every day at some point in my day. And so comfortability is important to me. The way that it stays put where I want it is important to me, but also having enough compartments and being able to move things around modularly to fit it where I want it is also really important to me. I want my rangefinder in a certain place. I want my knife in a certain place. I want my binos to fold out in a certain way. And with Alaska Guide Creations, they have a full line of binocular harnesses that you can make exactly how you want them. I can put different pockets right where it's going to work best for me and my system. Guys, Alaska Guide Creations is the best, hands down, in my opinion, harness you can get, and take it from a guy who pretty much lives in them. Go check out Alaska Guide Creations for your next and your last bino harness. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Everybody have a fantastic week and keep the dusty side up.